Hello, I'm Leisa Nichols-Drew and I am an Associate Professor from Montford University in Leicester, and this is my recorded presentation for the International 2023 Active Learning Network Conference. The title of my presentation is Supporting Students in the Active Learning Journey Using ePortfolios. So before I begin the presentation, I'd just like to share with you one of the mechanisms I have of my own career journey and sharing that with my students. So this is an image here, and it's quite a light-hearted image in essence, and I use this to engage with my students, and I like to be open and honest in my background. So I have a career in practice as a forensic scientist, and involved in that technical training, and then I moved into other forms of education, so further education and then higher education. So I have had lots of different experiences and lots of career journeys, as it were. And so this image here is to share with my students and show them that all intents and purposes I had my original career route in mind, and then suddenly I had to veer off because I was faced with redundancy. So I generated this image using a meme generator app, and you can do these on mobile devices such as phones or tablets, or actually on a laptop computer, so that these are freely available. And I have a website here which you may wish to try with your students. I find this quite a fun way of engaging with my students, and they can generate memes if they wish to. They are anonymous, they can share them to a Padlet. They're an active learning mechanism, a tool, and they enable peer review and critique. So this is something that I really strongly suggest you try, because you might also enjoy using these, and it can generate discussion. So it's a useful starting point. So for this presentation, I will be covering the main themes of my ePortfolio. So I designed an ePortfolio to encourage my students to develop their employability. So in essence, I asked them to determine their starting point, and then we go through a range of different employability routes. So for example, further study, going into a profession, they might want to go in a different direction, different subject area, for example. So enabling them to map and plan their career progress, as it were. And along the way, I encourage them to collect their evidence as if it is these little souvenirs they collected en route. And I'll explain why in just a moment. So a useful starting out activity that you may wish to try with your students, I call this the traffic light feedback, and this is influenced by Phil Race. Stop, start, continue, his mechanism of generating feedback from students. It can also create prompts for students as well. So for example, the stop, asking them what is their career goal. And, I am mindful that students have different experiences. They might have be at different stages of their education or academic progress. However, this is useful, and I must admit, I routinely do this as part of my own continual professional development as well. And then the amber or the orange light is the start. So where are you now? When are you planning for? So timescales is really important. Obviously, what can you do in the time for your career journey? And for some students, they might be thinking about the next 6 months. Some people in a year. Some people might be thinking about it at the end of their course, for example. And then the green light, continue. How will you get there? Who can help you? So obviously, green lights, we're encouraging, it's quite a positive approach in a way. So we're encouraging students to consider maintaining this, as it were. So this is how an e-portfolio, in my opinion, coming from a professional background, may assist. So along the way, I talk about navigation. So asking students to consider their internet profile, for example. So the professionalism and integrity, and also using it as a mechanism for networking with others. So secure their social medias, maybe consider setting up a LinkedIn profile, so for professional networking. They may wish to use, I've mentioned Twitter here, but there are numerous social media outlets that they may wish to use, and your institutions may be aligned to certain ones as well. So I've just mentioned one because these are the two that I'm on, for example. And so you can use them to connect with me if you so wish to as well. I'm also really mindful, and I'm a huge advocate of inclusive practice and appreciating equality, diversity, and accessibility. And so I am always considering that students are unique in their own amazing ways, and in essence they are their own different vehicle. So in this lineup of they just all happen to be cars at the moment, you can see that they're all different colours, different models, different sizes. There might be different ages of vehicles, for example, but obviously vehicles can be come in a range of different forms. They don't have to be motor vehicles. So I think that's really important for us to recognise that, because no two people will have the same career journey, and I think that's really important moving forward. And this is another example of those experiences that I'm happy to share with you. I've had those moments where I feel like I've been going round in a roundabout, going round in circles. Which route shall I take? I'm not really sure. And then there have been times when two opportunities have come along at once. Which path am I going to take? And sometimes I think it's useful for students to be aware that this may happen to them. And, a lot of the time they will be making decisions on the information they have with them at that moment. But hopefully we can share with them tips to help support them, and so that they feel that this is, their career journey is unique to them and it's all going to be okay. So again, with the employability roadmap or their journey map, things that we always try and avoid barriers, but sometimes they're unexpected, as I've already shared with you my own journey. So thinking about those times, what do we do in the to try and prevent that happening? But if it does happen, what do you do? And I think that's where preparedness and planning comes in, the ability to reroute. And that's why it's useful to have different options open. And that's where it's important for everyone to remember to refuel, recharge when necessary. How do students do that? By accessing the support from their pastoral team, their academic tutors, maybe their specialist advisors on their campus or online. And I think that's really important, because it's not all on them. We all need that support. We all need to refuel, recharge, and to have that support with focus and clarity. So these are a few of the extra curricular activities and intra-curricular activities that I suggest students make a record of. And so this is where the e-portfolio does help students, because they can record them. And this is what I was saying earlier on, it helps them with their CV planning. So if they're in student societies, maybe their course is accredited, so they may wish to join a professional membership. If they're volunteering, that's so useful for their career development and their CV. And if they've undertaken placements as well, that's really useful for the experiential learning and recording any attendance at conferences, webinars and lectures. So this is how my career e-portfolio appears to students when they access the screen. This is built in PebblePad, and I have a recording that I will try and access here. So along the top of the toolbar in grey the different sections, but there's also a little contents page, as it were, down the side as well. So it talks about the career journey, the starting point, knowing that there is support available. I also encourage them to do target setting, so their short-term goals, medium-term goals and long-term goals. This is actually a way that I record my own continual professional development. So it's a very useful tool, and also the importance of reflective practice. So having frequently records of doing that. And here's where I encourage students to record their events and networking. So the different types of events and all in drop down menu. So lectures, exhibitions, conferences. And obviously this is subject specific to your own areas. And evidence support, so this is where they've collected those souvenirs on their career journey. So prizes, certificates, documents, for example, they might be really proud of. And along the way on their career journey, they will develop these skills which are useful for their career development. So it helps them apply for roles. Okay, and then the final section is a section on global issues in forensic science. That's my background, but you may wish to have your students do a section on sustainability, for example. That really topical. So just to summarise, all students are different vehicles, therefore their employability journeys are unique, and e-portfolios may be one way that we can assist students in that process. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and here is my email at Montford University if you wish to forward any questions to me, or you'd like any support with meme generation or setting up your own e-portfolio. Thank you for listening.